We have entered the month of March. We are tiptoeing our way towards the spring housing market here in Central Maine. What's it going to look like? Are we going to heat up along with the weather, or is it going to chill out like it did last fall? Stick around. We're going to break down the numbers and make a few guesses as we get into this video today. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It is Central Maine's realtor Nick Isgro with eXp Realty, and as I just alluded to at the beginning, today we've got all of the numbers hot off the press of what happened over the course of the last month as we're headed into the month of March. What does this pre-spring market look like? And we'll make some predictions at the end of this video of what that means for the spring market as we're headed towards this. Are we heating up? Are we cooling down? What is going on? Now, before we get into that, I want to welcome you here to the channel. If you've never been here before, we cover all things real estate here in the state of Maine, but particularly right here in the Central Maine market. If that is of interest to you or adds value to your process in the buying and selling of homes, or maybe you're just interested in real estate here in the state of Maine, do me a favor, go ahead and like this video, hit subscribe, knock that little alarm bell. You'll be notified every time we put out new content. All right, so what is happening? What is the big scoop? What's the big story here headed to the spring market? The big scoop right now is not really much, actually. It's going to be very interesting to see how this unfolds as you walk with me along this journey as we break down number to number. So far, what we're seeing from the last month, not really much going on. And as we look at it comparatively to last year, a little bit of differences here and there. As we put this all together, we're going to try to wrap it up in a bow. But as always, we're going to start off with new listings, what's going on as far as new inventory coming to the market. Remember, the biggest challenge we've had over the last couple of years for buyers in the market, what has driven the fact that it has remained a seller's market, is the lack of overall inventory in the market. New listings obviously being the driver of that number. Take a look at this. We're going to bring it up right now. New listings as we head into the month of March. 77 new listings, actually a few listings short of where we were last month as far as bringing new inventory to the market. So overall, I mean, a couple of houses here and there, not a big deal. I would say that's basically a non-change from the month before. Now, if you look at this trend line over the last year, it was during the month of March, so during the month we're in right now, we saw a massive spike. But you can also see that we are quite a bit short of where we were even coming out of February the year before. So that's going to make a big difference as we're headed over the course of the next month if we don't make up those numbers by either A, having some inventory hang on the market for a little bit longer time, or B, get a flood of new listings coming to the market, something I think is highly unlikely. That's it for new listings, new activity. Next, I want to go over to pended listings and then to sold listings to give us the sales activity. Obviously, pended listings, these are homes that are currently under contract. These are homes that, went into escrow during the month. They are likely to close this month over the next several weeks during March. No guarantee of that. Could, obviously tail into April if you got into the end of the month. Some of them did. But overall, these are homes that went into escrow during the month and should be turning into sales over the coming month. So pended listings during the month of February, 62. Yikes, that was actually a big drop if you look at that. That is the fewest amount of homes going into contract, into escrow during the month that we've seen over the last 13 months. So really, as we look at the month of February, a big reduction in sales activity. Sales during the month, unless they were cash sales, most likely were the pended listings from the month before or maybe even the month before that. So this is really what's going to make up the bulk of the homes that are closing and coming off the market next month or this month, March. Very little activity during the month of February, and we can't really blame the weather. It was actually a fairly mild month. We had a little bit of snow. Obviously, this last weekend we had quite a bit, but overall, mild month, just not a lot of activity. Granted, one of the things that's causing this, and this is something that I'm getting from working with buyers right now that are in the market looking, is what you'll see it in a little bit, the lack of inventory. Because if there's not a lot of homes on the market for buyers to look at, they're not seeing the kind of home that they want to move into, they're not going out and driving that activity. In order to get those higher sales numbers, those higher pending numbers, we really need more homes to come onto the market. So I don't necessarily look at this as a lack of buyer interest, because I have a lot of buyers I'm working with now comparatively to the prior months, and I think other realtors are experiencing the same thing. Plenty of buyer demand anecdotally on the ground, just not the houses they're looking for in the current inventory. So that brings us to sold listings. No big surprise here. We can run through this one really quick. 87 sold listings, obviously a lot less than the year before, but if we look at the pended listings from last month, we had about 90 pended listings. We closed 87 of those during the month. So no surprise, not a big change month over month, big change year over year if you look at the graph. But we knew that coming into this. This is where we've been trending since last fall, these lower numbers. So that's not really a surprise. And based off the prior month's pending activities, not a big surprise there. So what does all this mean for overall active inventory? These inventory numbers are always the numbers we look at to determine whether we're maybe in a buyer's market, maybe in a seller's market. What does it look like? What are the consumers that are out there? If you're a buyer and you're coming to market, what do you have to look at? If you're a seller coming to market, what's your competition look like? So the overall active listings here in Central Maine, 179 listings. Now look, yes, that's less than we had last month. Look at this year over year, and this is very interesting. It is a lot more than we had over the year prior. So last year in 2022, coming through the month of February, we actually had fewer active listings than we have ending the month now. Maybe this is a sign that we're kind of moving in a different direction. I think you'll see in a little bit, we're actually at a stalemate compared to where we've been over the last couple of months. But still not a ton of inventory. So doubling this over, we're gonna move right from overall active listings into total months of supply. This number means that if we were to sell everything that's on the market right now and put no new listings on, just sell the current inventory, how long would that take? 6 months is kind of that balance point between a balanced market, between a buyer's market and a seller's market. More than that, you're in a definite buyer's market. Less than that, you're still in a definite seller's market. Where are we right now? Same as last month, 1.2 months of supply. There it is. This is why none of these numbers I've been looking at are very alarming. This number is not really going anywhere. We have, more inventory than we saw for the most part over the entire last year, other than the last couple of months. We had a big spike in inventory 2 months ago. Last month we saw a drop, this month staying stagnant. And so definitely still a seller's market. At the end of the day, we can play around with how many homes went under contract. We can try to analyze, what the number of new listings means, sold listings. This is the number that we're looking at to determine what is actually going on and what does it mean for the overall pricing structure that's in the market, what's happening there, what's happening with negotiations and things like that. It all comes down to inventory levels. And at this time, clearly there is enough buyer activity combined with few listings coming onto the market that are holding this inventory in this pattern right now. Still very low, barely over a month of supply, about 1.25 months, a little less than that. Definitely still a seller's market. What does this all mean? Obviously, at the end of the day, we're trying to draw some conclusions. We want to know where we're going, what's happening. Are we trending in one direction or another on price? Particularly since over the last year, it was nuts. Remember last year at this time, a lot of stuff was selling over asking price, especially as we got into the spring and early summer market before we saw that market shift late summer, early fall. And let's jump into those numbers right now, break those down, see if we can see a trend, and maybe make a few predictions about where we're headed. First number I want to look at is days on market. This is the average number of days that homes are sitting as a new listing on the market before they go into escrow and hit that sales process, about 38 days. Again, no change from the month prior, no change in inventory, about the same amount of market time. So if you're a seller and your home doesn't go under contract in the first couple of weeks, here in Central Maine, obviously you want to niche down a little bit with your real estate professional, into your neighborhood, your specific house type. But overall, no need to panic. I mean, that was a very strange scenario. If you look at this graph, you can see where kind of late last spring, early summer, it really drove down into about a 14, 13 day average market time. Not really the norm, definitely not even the norm for last year. Last year, we actually had a few more days on market during the same time period. So no surprise here, not a big thing to do. Just know that that's about the time you have in the market. And if you're a buyer, by the way, and you're looking at a home that's been on the market for about a month, don't take for granted that you have a lot of time to put in an offer and decide if you really want that house and get the financials worked out and get the offers in. Because if you don't, sometimes you could lose that opportunity. You might be thinking, well, it sat here for a little while. It really hasn't sat there for too long. It's actually sat there within the average amount of time and it's probably about to go under contract. All right, sale to list price ratio. This is where we're always looking to find those trends, see what's happening with the pricing, as far as where we're listing the home versus what it is actually selling for. So let's bring it up, 98%. So we're actually a little bit higher. It's actually almost 99% of the sale to list price ratio. That means if you put a house on the market last month for about $100,000, you probably got about $99,000 for the house. You can see we trended down for a few months. We're starting to trend back up a little bit. We don't know what the long-term implications of this. Obviously, it's very tight of a change. It's not a huge change, but it could mean, and I can tell you frankly, what I'm seeing on the market is if there's a quality home, more multiple offer scenarios coming back. Yes, there's still negotiations happening, but sellers are getting a little bit more of what they're asking for. Now, some of that too is probably because, real estate agents and their clients, the sellers, are pricing probably a little bit more accurately now that we've moved through that market shift and we're kind of holding steady in this pattern, but also knowing where the inventory levels are and headed towards spring. Another quick number to look at here is sale to original list price. Ratio is 96%. Last month it was 94%. That means that there are fewer and fewer price drops happening in the market. So fewer price drops. We saw a lot of those in the last few months. Coming out of that slump right now, getting closer to the list price again on the offers and negotiations during the sale process. The last thing I like to throw in here is always the median sale price. These are homes that are actually sold. Looking at where that is trending, last month, median sales price here in Kennebec County, Maine, $256,000, up from $225,000 the year before. You can see this always goes up and down a little bit. If you don't have a ton of homes selling, it makes a bigger impact if a more expensive home or a lesser expensive home gets sold, but it does show you an overall trend. I don't think that prices are going anywhere anytime soon. That's really it, and that is the big takeaway. Not a lot of changes happening in the market right now. Inventory definitely still squeezed, pricing still very strong, and frankly, sellers are getting most of what they're asking for. So what does this all mean for you? Well, if you're a buyer right now, it means that there are definitely still some opportunities out there. We can see that there are some price drops occurring. Those would be great houses to look at, but also in general, homeowners are negotiating below the asking price. This isn't going to happen on every time, but it is definitely still happening. And remember that days on market. Remember, your best chance to get the offer that you want on that home and to negotiate with a home seller right now is early on in the process. You start hitting those later weeks, 30 days, 40 days, they're likely to already have some more sales traction going at that time. So the earlier you get your offer in, the better. But also, probably doesn't have to be the first day you look at it if you're looking at it when it first hits the market in those first couple of weeks. Caveat, depending on the quality of the home, that's always the driver. If it's super, super high quality and the price point is right, there's gonna be multiple offers still. If you're a home seller, what does it mean? What it means that right now, it's definitely still a seller's market. I foresee this becoming an even stronger seller's market, to be honest, over the next couple of months. I think we're gonna have a great spring market. Who knows what's gonna happen after that? Like we saw last year, there was definitely a shift, but overall, I think we are definitely shaping up to have strong pricing. You wanna put your best shoe forward. We wanna make sure you have the highest amount of curb appeal. Those photos and videos are looking their absolute best to make sure that you still stand out above all of the rest, to make sure that you get top dollar. That is it, everybody. Those are the predictions. Those are the numbers. Would love to hear from you. What are your thoughts? What do you think about what is happening right now? Where do you think we're going over the next couple of months? Go ahead, drop a comment below. Always love to hear from you there, get your thoughts and your opinions. Obviously, if you are in the market and you're looking for a real estate professional to work with, or maybe you just need to run some numbers, run some ideas by them, go ahead. All of my contact information is linked in the post below. Of course, as always, I thank each and every one of you for sticking around to the end of this video. And until the next one, see you next time.